Hello, my name is Mr. Polk and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to take a look at continuing to cook starches, and today we're going to look at pasta. We're going to look at making a penne pasta with a classic cream sauce or an Alfredo or whatever you'd like to call it. It's a cream sauce that the flavor is going to come from your Parmesan cheese, your mozzarella cheese, and some garlic. And we're just going to kind of look at that. So we're going to look at how to make the sauce, and then we're also going to look at how we prepare the dried noodles. So let's get cooking. So the first thing we want to do is get our pasta going. I have our water going, about quart and a half of water in a 3-quart pan. We're doing 8 ounces of penne, that's about a half box. And your water needs to be boiling, and then we always like to season your water with some salt. Okay, so get a little salt in there. And then I like to put just a touch of olive oil. I know some people say, oh, you don't put oil. The oil is not in there to coat the pasta. That oil is not going to coat the pasta. See how it's bubbling around? What that does is it helps to break the surface tension. So if you do get things bubbling up from the starch, it doesn't bubble oil. That's all that does. So we're going to put our pasta in. Penne is going to cook anywhere to 11 to 13 minutes because we do want it al dente to the tooth. We don't want it mushy, but we don't want it hard. I'm just going to give it a little stir. And then as soon as it comes back to a boil, that's where we're going to set our timer for roughly our 12 minutes. In the meantime, I have a 2-quart saucepan going. All right, and I see some boiling happening, so I'm going to go ahead and hit start on the timer. Then over here, we have our butter, and then we have that pretty much melted. And into that, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 cloves of garlic that's been minced. All right, let that cook up just for a minute. And then I'm going to put our heavy cream in. And this is 2 cups of heavy cream. I'm going to pour that in. And we're going to go ahead and whisk that together. And we want to, get the butter in with the cream. And then what we're going to do is after it's whisked together, we're going to let that come up to a simmer. Okay. So we got that simmering. And then we have our pasta is coming to a boil. And we're just going to, I like to stir it once in a while. You don't want the pasta to kind of stick on the bottom. And then we're going to just let our cream start to come to a simmer. As we're waiting for our pasta, and also at the same time waiting for our cream to come to a simmer, one of the things we could work on is sometimes it's nice to have a little garnish or a little something with your pasta. You can put vegetables or, protein, shrimp, chicken, anything you want with the penne and the cream sauce, the Alfredo. It's going to go great. But we're just going to do a really nice topping here today. And I'm just going to have my saute pan on, maybe medium heat. And I'm just going to put in some tomatoes. You can do cherry tomatoes. When I was at the market, I was able to find some of these heirloom tomatoes. So I'm going to use those with the different colors, these little mini colored tomatoes. So what I'll do is I don't want to, mush them or anything, but I'm just going to toss them in the olive oil a little bit, just to give them some olive oil flavor. Maybe put a little bit more in there. And then I'm just going to hit them once they're, I'm just going to hit them right now with just a little bit, like a half teaspoon maybe, of some Italian seasoning, just to give them, a little bit of flavor, a little bit of color. And then those guys will be able to get put on top of our pasta. And you can see with the different colors, that's really going to work out nicely. So now let's look at what else we got going on. I always keep stirring my pasta. It's been going on maybe 6 minutes or so. So it's starting to cook up. Remember, when you use dry pasta, first thing it has to do is rehydrate. So the first bit of boiling, it's not even cooking the pasta, it's just getting the pasta from that dehydrated state to soft. Okay. Now we want to take a look at our cream over here, because as you can see now, it's starting to really come to a simmer. Once it comes to a simmer, that's where we're going to work on adding our cheese. Now it's very important to add your cheeses in the right order. We have 2 cheeses. Some people just use Parmesan. I like to use the Parmesan, and I like to use the mozzarella. So now that I've got this going here, I'm going to go ahead and put in my Parm. And the Parm is a hard cheese, so that needs to go in first, all right? Because we don't want our sauce, to get grainy. Now you will have, not lumps, but you'll have stuff in there because of the garlic. We'll keep that garlic flavor in there. But you really want to stir, and you really want to get that flavor in there. So I'm going to let that come back to a simmer. Gonna give these guys a little hit. All right, they're looking good. And again, I'm just looking to kind of saute, get a little softness to them, but I don't want them to go mushy or anything. I just want to make them look nice. Now, take a look at this. I'm going to turn my heat down a little. And you can see that the Parmesan really did a nice job of going in there. And I want to get it to a simmer before I put the mozzarella. One thing I want to say, you can see, it's probably hard to see on the camera, but it is starting to thicken up from the Parm. One thing I want to say about using Parmesan is it should be freshly grated, meaning that you either purchase the large Parmesan and you grate it yourself, okay? Or you buy the stuff in the store in the refrigerated section that is freshly grated. You don't want to use the stuff in the container, in the shaker, because that's great on top of the pasta, but that stuff has an anti-caking agent in it to keep it from caking at the bottom of the container. So if you use that to cook with this, it's going to be very difficult to melt. All right. So that melted. You can see that was freshly grated, and that melted beautifully. And now what I'm going to do is put in my mozzarella cheese. So now I got the mozzarella going in, and this is what really adds to the creaminess of the sauce. And you can see how everything is blended together. And just like you did with your other sauces, now that I've got the mozzarella in, I'm going to cut heat, and I'm just going to stir this so I get it nice and smooth. Look at that. That looks beautiful. And then once you have it looking like that, it's just a matter of seasoning it if you wish. You could put a touch of salt. Just be cautious with the salt because you're using Parmesan cheese. Parmesan cheese is a saltier cheese. Okay, so you want to make sure that I think you remember me saying it a lot when we cook is salt at the end. Let the ingredients talk to you. Let the salt from the ingredients that are in there come out. But here you can see a really nice Alfredo sauce. You can see how the thickness, we didn't have to use a roux. The thickness just came from the cream, reducing the cream a little bit, from the butter, and then obviously from the cheeses. And we'll take a look at our pasta. Our pasta looks just about ready to go, so we'll let that cook for a minute or two, and then we'll take a look at pouring that off, and our tomatoes look great. So now we have our pasta, and what I want to do is just pour it into the colander, and you can see that I have the colander in the sink, and I'm well out of the way, let the steam get out of the way so I don't get hurt, and then you're just going to put that right into the colander. And now if you were going to do this over 2 days or doing this ahead of time, you would run cold water over the pasta. Here, in this demo, I'm going to cook it right away. I'm going to add the sauce to it next. If you were at home and you were going to add the sauce to it next, at this point, you would just let it go and add the sauce. If you're going to add the sauce, you don't have to add any oil. If you're going to serve the pasta separate, you might want to put a touch of olive oil to keep it from sticking. Okay, so now that we have our pasta made and we have our Alfredo made, let's take a look at putting it together. This is one of these dishes that you can put the pasta in and put the sauce on top, or if you want to put the sauce in with it, you can. I'm just going to pour my really nice creamy Alfredo right in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and give it a really nice mix. And this is where, like I said, if you made chicken or if you had other veggies and you wanted to mix it in with this, this makes for a really nice dinner. And again, if you wanted to just put the noodles down and pour it on top, you could do that as well. And then I have here just a little pasta bowl. So I'm going to take and very carefully spoon some of my pasta right into the bowl, just like that. Oh, it's looking good. Just try and keep everything nice and clean into the center. Really nice pasta with Alfredo. And then what I like to do is finish it And to do that, I'm simply going to take some of my tomatoes that I made, and I'm just going to, put them over top. And again, it really adds a little flavor, obviously, but it definitely adds some color to the dish if you were going to serve this to somebody rather than just serving them some plain old pasta. It just has a really nice color and look to it. And then you can top it with a little bit of fresh parsley. So I can put a touch of parsley on there, and there you go. And then the last thing, almost forgot. Last thing is you could either freshly grate some Parmesan, or I have this shredded Parm, so I can put a little bit of the shredded Parm on there. Shaved Parm, rather, that looks really good. So there you go. You can see how you can make the pasta. This was a dried pasta, reconstituted it. You can see we made a really nice Alfredo that's very simple. So you don't just have to buy it in a jar. It's just the cream, the garlic, the cheeses. Mix it all together. You don't have to use a roux or anything like that. And it makes a beautiful sauce. And you can see how you can get a beautiful presentation. So thank you for cooking with me today. And I can't wait to cook with you real soon right here in Mr. Polk's kitchen.